Hey guys, and welcome back to the Chaotic Kids channel, where I, Michelle, document my life here on YouTube as I try to become a full-time author while also traversing the world's multiple personalities. If that sounds interesting to you, stick around, but today we are going to be talking about the book that I recently finished, which is Do Something Beautiful for God, The Essential Teachings of Mother Teresa. We are also going to briefly talk about my next book read, which is going to be An Introduction to Prayer by Bishop Robert Barron. And then we have about 8 books to the side of me that I recently bought that I will also talk about. So that sounds interesting to you, stick around. But I will let you guys know this video is going to be more heavily based in my Catholic spiritual life as I get ready to either become a sister or just at least deepen my relationship with God by reading. So that sounds interesting. Go ahead and stick around. But if it's not, I understand. I'm not going to push you into listening to me talk about religion. But if you want to, go ahead and stick around. I hope you guys will. And I say let's just jump into it, shall we? Hey guys, so as I said, we are going to be talking about Doing Something Beautiful for God, The Essential Teachings of Mother Teresa. This is a book I just finished reading yesterday, and I'm not going to talk too much about it, I don't think. But I do love to ramble. But so the Doing Something Beautiful for God is has some teachings that Mother Teresa talked about. It talked a lot about doing small things with great love, like having great love for whatever you're doing. Because one small act of kindness can really make ripple effects into other people's lives. Just by showing love and compassion for one person, then that person could eventually show love to another, or you can just keep making all these, this is my analogy, but you can keep making all these small pebbles, throwing small pebbles into a big wide open ocean, and then it'll slowly either make the ocean better, bigger, or it'll affect others along the way. But so Mother Teresa is an amazing person. She started her life as a saint. As a sister. I don't know too much about her. I want to be a Catholic. I want to be Catholic, and I want to be I am Catholic, but I want to be a religious sister. And I feel like to do that, you need to know more about saints. And I'm also wanting to write a picture book about her. I just haven't gone too in depth about her life. This was my kind of first introduction to her. But she first started out as a religious sister. She had a couple moments with God where God told her to do some things. And eventually she adopted the name of Mother Teresa. She won a Nobel Peace Prize. And later, after her death, she became a saint. And yeah, that's kind of how her life relatively went. But yeah, she talked about a lot about doing small things with great love. And also, I keep, I feel like every book I'm reading this year, is also religious. I've read 4 books this year. This is the 4th book, and they've all been religious books. But they've all got something to deal with the fact that, you need to sit in silence to pray. Or, you can pray with others, but, in your, personal time, you need to sit in silence and pray. Because God speaks to us in silence. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I will leave a link down in the description below if you want to pick this up. But I will say, this one is not written like a traditional book. With traditional books, you have chapters like chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and you read it through the process. With Mother Teresa's books, it's kind of got, this book at least, it's got the days, so this is May 29th, May 30th, and May 31st. And then there's a page break for the next month, so it's kind of written daily quotes and teachings that Mother Teresa said. And I did I don't want to say I struggled, but I didn't fully understand how to read this, just because it's a new concept for me. Yeah, that's kind of how things are. And then whenever I do read religious books, or nonfiction books in general, I like to take like notes on it. So this just happens to be the notebook I was using for my last 4 books. I might put a 5th book in here. I'm not 100% sure. But what I do for these is like I have the title of the book on the first page, and then like the day that I'm reading it and some notes that I took for that reading section. And I will say this, and like what I do is I take these notes, put them into a Google Doc, just to have them there too. Didn't really do much journaling about it. I just wrote the quotes down. I think whenever I get to writing today, I will do a little more in-depth kind of not conversation, but like in-depth dialogue with myself. But I will say, I think after reading this book, the next saint I am going to start discovering more about is Saint Therese of Lisieux. This saint, I again don't know much about, but I keep, like, the name, well, like, Saint Therese of Lisieux, her name keeps popping up, and I keep feeling so drawn to write her story. So it's just like, if I keep feeling drawn to this particular name, then I'm like, okay, this person, God is obviously speaking to me, being like, you need to do this one, you need to do this one, you need to do this one, or it's going to help you in some way. And with Saint Therese of Lisieux, I'm pretty sure she has a book, her, like, I think it's a memoir of her books, or autobiography. I don't know, but she has a story, not a story, she has a nonfiction book about her life, and so I'm wanting to pick that up so then I can kind of get an idea about her, before starting to do the picture book about her. So that is the book that I read, Mother Teresa. If you want to pick it up, I will leave a link down in the description below for you to go pick it up. But my next book I'm reading is going to be An Introduction to Prayer by Bishop Robert Barron. I really enjoyed listening to Bishop Robert Barron's videos on whatever topic he's talking about. Obviously, since he's a bishop, he is Catholic, but I listen to his videos every once in a while whenever they pop up on my feed. But yeah, so this one is talking about prayer. This is a book that my priest gave to me last maybe 2 Mondays ago. This is whenever I went to talk to him about joining the religious life, Yeah, and I will say whenever it comes to wanting to join the religious life, I've talked to a few people about joining to be a sister, and everyone's like, you need to do it now. Like, you are wasting time if you're not doing it. Not necessarily wasting time, but like to do it now, not wait and sit around. And like, I think a lot of my waiting is because I am hesitant since of my mental health, but a lot of them are like, that's just the devil telling you that you're not worthy and stuff. Which I will say, I did struggle for the longest time with that concept that I'm unworthy of God's love. I didn't realize I was going to choke up when I said that. But it is true. I do feel very unworthy of God's love. Why? Because of my mental health, But anyways, I could do a whole video again about my religious life and how I'm kind of contemplating it. And maybe that'll go into a vlog. But yeah, those are my 2 books that I'm planning. Well, the Mother Teresa book is the one that I just finished, and then the Robert Barron one, Bishop Robert Barron, is the one that I'm going to read next. Now I'm going to take a little break, and we are going to get into the 8 books that I also have on my TBR that I've recently bought from my local mission, and yeah, so let's get into it. Okay guys, so now we're talking about the 8 books that I've recently picked up from the mission. I think 2 of these I've already showed you guys, but I'll show you guys again. So the first one is a memoir that is by Anna, I'm not even going to try her last name, Anna something, or Anna something. It's called A Light in the Shadow, based on a true story, and it's about her grandfather, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's about her grandfather. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be reading. And then the other one that I think I showed you is Four Signs of a Dynamic Catholic. This one has on the back, I will say, I didn't realize this when I picked it up, but it has all these different saints in it. And not only is St. Francis of Assisi there, and I just did a picture book about him, it has Mother Teresa, another picture book that I'm wanting to start, also the book I just read. And then it also has St. Therese of Lisieux, again, the next picture book I'm wanting to work on. So this was somehow calling me, and I keep answering the call. But so this one is by Matthew Kelly, and while I'm at my local mission, or thrift shop, whatever you want to call it, we just call it our mission. There's specifically a religious section there, and the great thing is that those books are only 25 cents. Like, each book is only 25 cents. But there were several other Matthew Kelly books that I wanted to pick up. I'm not really 100% sure if this one was necessarily written by Matthew Kelly. This has just got a foreword of it, but it is Why I Love Being Catholic. So that's going to be an interesting one. And on the back, okay, this is what it's really about. So, like, we asked 100,000 Catholics, why do you love being Catholic? What is your favorite memory as a Catholic? As Catholics, what are your hopes for the future? So this is just what everyone said about those questions. The next book by Matthew Kelly, or has an introduction to it, is I Heard God Laugh. This one on the back has a lot of words and I don't feel like reading it. But I'll read one section. It says, when our bodies are hungry, our stomachs growl. When our souls are hungry, we become irritable, restless, confused, overwhelmed, exhausted, anxious, discontent, and tend to focus on the things that matter least and neglect the things that matter most. Again, I just picked out this random paragraph. I don't know. I know God works in mysterious ways, but even just my, pick out a random paragraph, it still speaks to me. So, I Heard God Laugh once. That's what I'm wanting to read. Life is Messy by Matthew Kelly. Let's see if I can... it doesn't really have... I don't feel like reading. But Life is Messy. Life is Messy. Then the other one by Matthew Kelly is Perfectly Yourself, Discovering God's Dream for You. This one. Don't really know much about it. It doesn't even have, a background, a back paragraph. Blurb. Sorry, I can't think of it. Anyways, this is another one by Matthew Kelly that I'm interested in reading. Then, as I talked about last time, there was one by Bishop Robert Barron. This is another book that he wrote. It is This Is My Body, A Call to the Eucharistic Revival. So, bam. I'm sorry, I'm terrible right now. And then one of my next books is going to be another memoir. It's called A Grace Disguised, How the Soul Grows Through Loss. So, by Gerald L. Sitterson? I don't know. But those are the 8 books that I got from the mission. Now, I told myself before I bought these, that I was like, okay, I'm not going to buy any books until I have the ones on my shelf done. I bought books anyways. Yeah. But I will also say, so at the mission, you can donate stuff and obviously buy stuff, and the stuff that you buy is relatively cheap. But I will say I did donate a lot of my stuff that I had. I had a lot of clothes that I don't fit anymore or just don't want to wear. I had a lot of not a lot of CDs, a lot of DVDs that I got rid of because they just weren't my aesthetic anymore. Well, not aesthetic, but they just weren't me anymore. I also got rid of a lot of my books that kind of were more smutty, and I even donated a set of my books to the mission, so yeah. I'm just having a lot of fun. But yeah, that's kind of how things are going right now, and the books I'm reading for my religious life. I'm sorry again if this is a video you're not interested in, but if you've watched this far, leave a like and tell me how you've been doing, and I will see you guys later, okay? Bye.